and say it's a one-possession game at the end and LeBron looks spent, and maybe if he had gotten a little rest here and a little rest there, it would have been different. Is Perk right?
No, I don't think. I think we have programmed.
Would have been different. Is Perk right?
No, I don't think. I think we have programmed people to look at things as it's one thing. So all the blame has to be on JJ. And by the way, like, his staff is pretty good, Greeny. It's Nate McMillan, it's Scott Brooks, Greg St. Jean. Like, there's a lot of experience on the staff. I don't hear Perk calling out the staff. Right? So that's number one. Look,
because we don't call out the staff, Jay. We call out the head coach.
But I know, but by the way, the staff was constructed because JJ was a first-year head coach. That's why you bring in experienced head coaching former players, right, to do that. So, look, I think JJ coached the third quarter like a veteran. I think the fourth quarter, he coached more like a rookie, right? You can't play basketball in the playoffs on fumes. But, like, I think it's a bold move, but I don't think it's an incompetent move. Why the hell do we play this season? Why do you rest LeBron throughout the course of the season? Why are you ramping up Luka's moments and minutes if it's not for these two quarters? Like, it's you must-win scenario, right? It's a closeout situation. I can't knock that. You can make slight adjustments, but LeBron James makes a play down the stretch, you win the game.
Monica.
Numbers are not my strength, so if I mess this up, just go with the point I'm trying to make. There was a 10-point lead to start the fourth, right? Somewhere in there. By the 4-minute mark and change, the Timberwolves are poised to take the lead. So to me, to make the argument that you go to your bench then would be stronger if those guys were adding to it. But those guys were barely holding water. They ended up giving up the lead. So you think you have better on the bench to solve that game, to hold on to that lead? I just think hindsight is always 20/20, and it's easy to point the finger at JJ Redick. But the same praise that we've been giving him to put him in the Coach of the Year conversation, you gotta know he didn't just make that move by happenstance. I'm not saying it was his best coaching moment, Jay, but it's not as if those guys were blowing this thing out to 20 and I could go to my bench. They were treading water.
I have one thing I'm curious to get your opinion on it. So, a lot of talk throughout the course of the season has been about, like, who is the best third option in the NBA? And a lot of people were saying AR, right? Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is missing a lot of shots.
A lot of
wide open shots. Now, he's been averaging 15 points in this playoff series where he usually averages 20. So, like I'm saying, like Luka, LeBron, they're giving you stuff. I hear the minutes conversation, but AR has to step up in order to help you.
Well, the other thing that's been thematic in this postseason that I would offer is experience. And his experience in this moment, this is his first experience.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, here's what I would say about the whole thing. Of course, it's the coach's fault. It doesn't mean he's not a great coach.
Right.
When you try something, the difference between being the coach and sitting here is accountability. I can say whatever I want today and change my mind tomorrow, and it don't make a damn bit of difference. But when you're the coach and you try something like that, he did it because he believed in his heart it was exactly the right way to win, the best way to win, the best way to give him a shot, and you live with the circumstances. And when you're the coach, when you're the person charged with making that decision and it doesn't work, then yes, it's your fault. That's why it's a hard job. That's why they get paid a lot of money. So it's not necessarily a criticism.
So wait.
He had to make the decision ahead of time. If he had seen the result, obviously he would have done it differently. So I don't blame him for trying it. So I think all things can be right. At the end of the day, here's what I will say. You cannot ask LeBron James at the age of 40, even though he is obviously an alien and from another planet. Can we put up C10,
I don't know about
please?
that, Greeny.
LeBron James.
I don't know about that.
Well, here's the thing. LeBron James has played 163 minutes.
I think you can.
In this postseason. Can we put up C10, please? He is at least a decade older than any of the 6 players with more minutes played this postseason. Can I say that again? He is at least a decade older than anybody else. So my point is, if you're going to ask that of him on Friday night when he basically had to carry that team by himself, 38. And then 36 hours later ask him to go back to do it again, and then it doesn't work, you wind up losing by 1 possession, of course people are going to point the finger at the coach. That's the lot in life.
Wasn't there a critical play down the stretch that they went back and they reviewed and they kind of thought, oh, okay, that could have worked out. I'm just saying.
Wait, the foul you
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
should that not have been a foul on the ball? Is the hand part of the ball?
Yes, hand is always part of the ball in the playoffs. All I'm saying to you is I hear all the numbers. This dude don't fit in that category with those numbers. He's different. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. And by the way, also LeBron's a player coach. You don't think LeBron has any?
He had 0 points in the fourth quarter. He did not take it. 0 points.
But you gotta let him be in it. Who are you putting in it? Dalton Connect?
I don't know who you put in.
Look down the bench. You only get 6 points.
What I'm saying is that's why it's so easy to sit where I'm sitting and say after the fact, obviously something else might have let you win. He had to do what he did. If I were sitting where he was sitting in the moment, I probably would have done exactly the same thing. That's why being an NBA coach is a hell of a lot harder than sitting here on TV giving opinions after the game has been played and you saw how it turned out.
My seat doesn't get warm. I'm very happy right here. I'm with you, Gritty. But I will also add this. As we all have sat around this table and watched this team evolve, the depth is not a new question.
Right.
It has just come back to the forefront because you got them young guns on the Minnesota Timberwolves operation running up and down the floor with depth.
But they played these other guys during the regular. I mean,
that's different. True. This is different. You shorten your rotation in the playoffs, so Grinny. And once again, all due respect to Perk,
he didn't just shorten the. I can't even see the rotation.
Well, let me tell you something. Let's have a real honest moment. If we're all on the bench and we're the coaching staff, we're looking down that bench. We're saying who we throwing in there?
Right. We probably do the same thing he did. And then when it doesn't work, we have to take the blame. That's the way life goes.
Of course,
you're right. You got 2 minutes. We got a media timeout. I need you to get to that media timeout.
Get there. I mean, that's the only way this team, I feel like, is going to have a legitimate chance to win, though.
Yeah.
So I guess my question I would ask you back is, yes, I get it, hindsight's 20/20, and you can be critical of it, but you don't think that gave them the best odds to win the game?
It probably did.
100%. That's the question we're really asking.
When you do something that out of the box and you lose a close game like that, then that's what's going to happen. People are going to say, well, if you had done it the other way, maybe you would have won. And the answer is, we'll never know. That's why that job is so hard. That's what I'm saying. This is a perfect example of, so you want to be an NBA head coach? Right? It's a lot more fun sitting in there yelling at Stephen A. and going back and forth and all that kind of stuff, because you can do that every single day. You can change your mind every single day, and no one can say a word about it because you don't have to make decisions that actually matter.
They got 6 points from the bench.
I know
6 points from the bench.
But they didn't play.
In the first half.
In the first half. I understand.
In the first half. So all I'm saying to you is your bench wasn't giving you anything anyway.
Right. We're not arguing. I mean, you and I are saying
I feel like we're saying the same thing.
We're just saying it loudly.
Passionately, yes.
Passionately.
The point is, what he did, what I probably would have done. And then when it was over, I would have to have asked myself, damn, did I screw that up? Because if I had gotten LeBron 2 minutes here, Luka Doncic looks like he's ready to drop. Now, whether that is his conditioning or the throwing up thing or whatever it is.
Yeah, the kangaroo pocket.
If there's anyone... Listen, I'm never going to knock a person for having GI issues.
Poisoning.
Lord knows. I've had more than my share of those. Okay, anyway, let's get to the more or less.
I didn't mean it like that, Mike.
Brought to you by ESPN Bet. Here's the important piece. We got ESPN Bet Sportsbook, people. More or less. Monica, Jalen Brunson tonight, 29.5 points. You going more or less?
Listen, don't come at me. Don't be in my DMs. I'm going more, and here's why. He's the clutch player of the year. In the last 2 games combined, 12 and 15. Well, you do the math. 12 and 15 points in the fourth quarter. The one caveat on this that made me hesitant to go more is I do think there's going to be a level of pressure from Thompson, Harris. I think they might switch up some defensive calls, and I think Cat is actually going to have the biggest game.
He's been over 30 in every game in the series so far. J-Will, Jokic, 51.5 points plus rebounds plus assists tonight for Denver, more or less.
I'm going to go more. I mean, it's just, look, the offense runs through him, and when you talk about this situation that Denver is in, you need your best player to go to another level.
Booze, Giannis, in what could be his last game as a Buck tonight, 34.5 points from Milwaukee, more or less.
I say more. I think it's possibly his last game in a Bucks uniform. He's going to go out with a bang, and there's no dang.
If you like
Indiana building a better wall than we have.
We've made those a parlay. Say it with me. Boost it, baby. What? We have parlayed that on ESPN.